Why does everyone still disrespect you no matter how many boundaries you set? All the boundary videos, the 5-step respect scripts, the rainbow shadow work, the $1,000,000 therapies. None of them are going to save you. Until you see the real thread, you're just spinning in an exhausting loop that gets heavier every round. Have you ever asked yourself, why is setting boundaries so damn hard and never-ending? Why does it drain you instead of empowering you? Why do people respect it for 2 days and then act like it never happened? Why does that initial wave of respect always fade so fast? Because everybody is chasing project respect. Respect you have to technique your way into, rehearse, and maintain. And it never lasts. Very few dare to look at the core issue. But by the end of this video, I'm going to show you the exact thing that, once you get it, respect will build around you automatically. No force, no scripts, just happens. Ready? Let's go! Imagine you're sitting on a sidewalk. In front of you, hundreds of door handles. No doors, no walls, no building. Just handles. You keep trying them, the sound, the lock, the mechanism. And you think, everyone else seems to have a door and I don't, so I must be broken. So you look for better handles. More professional ones. Still nothing opens. Because there never was a door. There's no door because there's no wall. There's no wall because the house was demolished before you can even remember. They taught you that having a house is selfish. They said being a good person means always leaving the gate open. No one falls in love with a homeowner. This is exactly what happens when you try to set boundaries without having a self to protect. You've been working on boundaries for years, books, therapy, exercises. Someone crosses your imaginary line and you freeze. Sometimes it takes days to even realize what happened. Then comes the shame. Why didn't I say anything? Why do I always back down? Are my boundaries wrong? Good news, nothing has ever been wrong with your boundaries. You can't guard something that doesn't actually exist. And no, it's not your fault. But something even worse happened. Your self wasn't just removed, it was replaced with a counterfeit that lives with your face. Before I tell you how to evict it, let me show you 2 women who got automatic respect without a single technique. 1. Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada. They called her the devil. Nobody called her sweet or super nice. Yet no one, not for 1 second, dared to be late. No one made a typo. No one disrespected her. Because Miranda was a subject. She didn't build boundaries. She was the boundary. When she walked into a room, the air rearranged itself. 2. Natasha from Sex and the City. Natasha didn't yell, didn't explain herself. Clean, clear, effortless presence. Carrie, with all her chaos, shrank in front of Natasha. Natasha received respect without trying, because her self was intact. Even when she was betrayed. Her silence alone was a boundary. These 2 women didn't use scripts. Didn't go to boundary school. Didn't even say something. They had gravity. Anything not aligned with that gravity got flung out of orbit by itself. Now the real question. Why can't you step into that same space? Why doesn't respect orbit you? Why do you have to chase it? Because your self was deleted and replaced with object consciousness. Want to know exactly how that happened? Stay. Imagine walking into a soundproof studio. 2 people behind the mixing desk. Person 1, every word, even quiet and short, comes out clear, full, powerful. No springiness, no wobble, no calculation. The voice comes from the inside. No effort to make it pretty. Person 2 voice keeps getting buried in noise, cuts in and out, jumps up and down. Not because they can't speak, because before the sound reaches the mic, it has to pass through 1,000 filters, sensors, adjustments. They're speaking and simultaneously scanning reactions, looking for the right tone, calculating what if I upset them, fearing judgment. That's the difference between subject and object. You can't fake being natural in a studio. The mic instantly reveals whether the voice comes from center or from fear. Boundaries work the same way. When you have real self, boundaries radiate from you, not as technique, but like a voice that comes from deep in the chest. When you don't, every boundary move sounds forced, shaky, imitated. More like effort than existence. The 4 phases that destroyed yourself. Phase 1. Childhood center deletion. Don't be selfish. Good kids don't get angry. You're too sensitive. Your inner world was invalidated. Phase 2. Installing object consciousness. You perform for approval. An object has no boundaries. Phase 3. Selling boundary techniques. The same system that emptied you now sells you tools to manage the emptiness. Phase 4. Failure loop. Boundaries don't work, self-blame, buy more help and repeat. Go back to Miranda and Natasha. They didn't set boundaries. They existed. They had gravity. You can too. Not with techniques, with reclaiming your center. Now that you see the problem isn't not setting boundaries, the problem is setting boundaries without a house. Next part is surgery. How to evict the destructive voice. How to say your first real no. How to receive respect like Miranda and Natasha without saying a word. If you're still here, drop 1 word in comments. Subject. And now, let's move on to the exercise of identifying the destructive voice. 1. Parasite detection. Any voice that says a good person should is parasite. 2. First step tonight. Before every apology for being too much, pause 5 seconds. That crack is the beginning of the wall. 3. Daily 30-second practice. Just exist. No explaining, no serving. 4. New golden rule. Does this align with myself? If no, then done. No explanation needed. Close your eyes. Feel what it's like when you're a subject. You don't have to guard anything. Respect just happens, either in orbit or out of orbit. Or they never even enter. You're no longer the person collecting door handles. You're a planet with real gravity. And respect? It happens. Not a project. This is just the beginning. Next part we go full surgery. What the parasite voice sounds like. What your voice sounds like. And how to say a real no without shaking. If you made it this far, you're ready. Just write, subject. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Until then, reclaim your house.